Hello and welcome to IT Security Labs. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to deploy Security Onion in VMware esxi. This setup also works for VirtualBox and VMware Fusion. So one way or the other, it should work. We are deploying this lab in our network that we are following on our series. We deployed this lab and this is video number 10. So if this is your first time on this channel, please consider liking and subscribing to this channel. We are deploying a lab for learning cybersecurity skills. And by the end of today's video, we are going to install Security Onion in VMware esxi. And these steps will also apply to other platforms. We will also set up a span port on our layer 2 switch. Then we'll configure VMware mirror network to get this traffic into our Security Onion. Then we'll take this Security Onion functionality to make sure that everything is working. Our scenario, as always, is that we work for a company called Trevor Phillips Industries. It's a very small company and they want us to secure a network. In this case, we have reached a point where we are now deploying an intrusion detection system. And we have decided that we will deploy Security Onion. And why are we choosing Security Onion? You might be wondering. Why? Why should we deploy Security Onion? And what is it? Security Onion is a free open source intrusion detection system. It's used mostly for network security monitoring. We can use it for threat hunting. As you see, I'll show you on the interface here. And we can also use it for log management. And it consists mostly of these components here and more. But we have this Zik, formerly known as Bro Intrusion Detection System. Then we have Silicara Intrusion Detection System. We have Straka for file analysis. So every file that comes in our system is going to be analyzed for malware and all that stuff. Then we also have the Wazoo interface, the OSEC, for host-based intrusion detection. We can use it for a lot of things. So right now on my screen, we have my Security Onion in the lab. This is what we will be setting up. And just a quick recap, we have this main screen here, which we use for seeing alerts in real time. As you can see here, I have some alerts that fired, including the fact that I just plugged in a Kali Linux in my machine. This was able to pick it up right away. We also have a hunt interface where we can use for threat hunting and follow up on these alerts that we see here. Then we also have pickup analysis. We can request pickups here. We have Kibana interface. We have the Hive, which is where security analysts will spend most of the time. Then we have Kibana, which is awesome for displaying the data and really following along and trying to figure out what's really going on with this data. As you can see, we can classify the events here. And we also have Grafana for monitoring our Security Onion instances. As you can see, mine has been up for 3.5 hours and my pickup retention and the functionality for this information. So that's what we have with the new Security Onion 2.3. So right now I'm going to show you how to deploy it in our lab in VMware esxi. This is the lab that we've been setting up since the beginning. And first place that we want to start is, as you can see, this is the one that I was showing you. I'll show you how to deploy this one right now. So let's go to our storage network, data store browser. You'll see that I have a Security Onion ISO file. That's what we need first. So to get that, you need to go to this location here, github.com Security Onion Solutions. Then the verify ISO. I downloaded 2.3 as of this time when I did this video. So you can download this ISO here and also verify the signature. So download this ISO, and once you download it, come to your data store, upload, then browse to that file. Once you have your ISO file uploaded, like I showed you here, you want to come here and create or register a VM. We're creating a new machine, and next, and I'm going to name this Security Onion 02. I already have one, so I'm going to have two. Then we have a VMware esxi, that's okay. Select Linux, and this ISO that we have here is based on CentOS 7 64-bit. Then next. And here is where things are very important. How much resources we give our Security Onion is really important for us. So my data store here is about 3.42 terabytes open. So I'm not too worried about storage. And then next, my CPU, this machine, I'm going to give it 4 CPU. Actually, let's look at the requirements first for CPU here. On docs.security.net, hardware requirements, let's look at this one here. The minimum specs for running Security Onion are 12 gigs of RAM, 4 CPU cores, and 200 gigs of storage. So let's go ahead and give this machine 4 CPU cores. like we did here. Minimum is 12 gigs of RAM, so I'll give this one maybe 16. My server has 128 gigs, so maybe I'll give this one actually 20 because I have 128 gigs on this server. Then for hard disk, minimum is 200, so I'll give this, let's say, 400 gigs. And as you can see here, this is going to be thick provisioned, lazy zeroed. Don't try to thin provision it. It doesn't work properly. Then for here, we have a USB network adapter. I want to add a second network adapter because you're going to need 2 network adapters here. And for now, let me connect this to the VM network. I'm just connecting both of them to the VM network for now so that I can get internet access. And then once I'm done installing, I'll change the second one to the mirror network, which I'll show you how to create. So now that we have both of those created, 400 gigs, 4 CPUs, which is good, then we can say next. If you have more CPUs, give it more. So here's a summary of what we have. And then let's go back. I forgot one more step here. Let's go back here. As far as the CD, we need to connect to our ISO file. So let's browse to Security Onion 2.3. Select. So now we are connected. Let's finish. Now our machine is finished setting up with SEC02. So let's check on that machine and start the machine. This is the beginning of the Security Onion installation process. Let's click on that machine, and I don't like to use this console here. Let's open the web console in a new tab. So it automatically started the installation process. Enter to begin the installation process. So this is going to be fun. All right, so it begins the installation process here. And most of these steps take a long time to load, so I'm going to be pausing so that we don't spend too much time on this video. All right, so now it says, do you wish to continue? Type yes to proceed, say yes. And enter the administrative username. This is the username that you sign into the operating system with. So you can create whatever you want here. And this is mine. That's the user that I want to be signing in. Let's set a password for the user. I'll set up a password and re-enter. And there we go. So if you haven't subscribed, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel. It's very important that we tell the YouTube algorithm that this content is really, really good for others as well. And that's the only way YouTube will recommend my content to other people. So please consider liking and subscribing. And also maybe join the community membership. That will help me with maybe buying more hardware for the lab, supporting the channel pretty much. Make sure that I can keep making these videos. All right, so it will be stuck here for a while. So get a coffee or something and give it some time. Then when it's ready for us to reboot, we'll come back. All right, so after a little while, you'll see that it says the initial install complete. Press enter to reboot. You just press enter. You don't need to do anything. And this will reboot the system. And when it comes back, you can sign in. All right, so now that we're back in here, we sign in with the user that we created. And there we go. So now it's asking us, this is the setup process. It should pop up right away. And here's a quick tip. Just in case it fails, you want to go and take a snapshot of this machine right here. So right click, snapshot, take a snapshot and name it before install. This is so that if your installation fails or if you have any issues, you can just revert to this and start over again. Because it does happen once in a while where you can take a long time for this to not work. And for snapshots, don't check the memory like I did. All right, while the snapshot is working, that's fine. Let's go ahead and say, would you like to continue? Say yes. All right, so on the next screen it says which one do you want. Let's install the evaluation. You can install the standalone, it doesn't really matter, but for ease of installation for us, let's use the eval here. And this is the same pretty much. Choose your install conditions, standard. We don't want anything here. Yes, automatic. And for the host name, I would like it to be, you can leave it to default. Select your management NIC. I want it 192. And I want to set a static IP address in this case. And I'll set it to 192.168.38.11. This is outside of my DHCP range, so it's not given out for DHCP. Then you say okay, enter. 24 is fine. Gateway, our gateway is 192.168.38.1. That's our pfSense router. DNS, this is going to be a problem, so let's put our Windows DNS 192.168.38.200, and that should do. Say okay. Our search domain is phillipsindustry.local, and okay. The second NIC for our monitor interface, and this is okay for our home net. Keep in mind the more services you enable, okay? Yeah, they need more RAM. I gave it 20. You should give yours at least 16. Please enter email address to create administrator accounts. Gmail, that's the email address that I'm going to use. You can use yours. Password. Set up mine. We enter the password. All right, choose the access method for the web interface. I want to say IP. Do you want to run so allow? Yes and yes. Enter a single IP address or IP range is 192.168.38.0/24. That's our network that we want to access. When set machine in eval, yes, we want it to be in evaluation mode. All right, so while the installation is going on here, let me show you how to set up the networking to make sure that you get some data to this machine, so that when it's done installing, you can now go back and actually get some data flowing into Security Onion. So the first part that you're going to need for the data to flow is to go to your VMware esxi. And in here, we need to set up networking. If you go to the networking filter here tab, you'll see that we have virtual switches and port groups. This is where we need to be. We need to add a new virtual switch, name it something like mirror. I'm going to name this one mirror 2 because I already have one named mirror. You can name it whatever you want as long as you remember it. You need to choose one interface, physical interface on your computer where this switch will be connected to. This needs to be a physical interface because we need to connect to this interface from our switch. So this is an interface vmnic 3. Right now it's saying it's down. That's fine. Then link discovery here, you want to change this mode to both because we don't want to take any chances here. Then for security, you want to set promiscuous mode to accept. And MAC address changes. Since this is a virtual environment, I might want to mess with MAC addresses. I want to say accept changes. Then you say add. So those are the changes that you need to do. Now we have our mirror 2 here. If you go to it, you see that it's connected to a physical adapter number vmnic number 3. So your esxi needs to have an adapter that is open. And this is, in this case, this is the third adapter. So after that is done, let's go ahead and create a port group. Let's add a port group and name it again mirror 2. This is where our Security Onion is going to connect to. Mirror 2. VLAN ID, leave it at 0. We are not setting any VLANs here. And on the virtual switch, choose the one that we just created, mirror 2. For security, we're just going to say inherit from vSwitch, which we know is promiscuous mode, accept, and also MAC address change. All right, so now we have mirror 2 port group, mirror 2 virtual switch. Now we go to Security Onion, virtual machines, Security Onion number 2, go to edit settings. We need to make sure that Security Onion is now connected to that on adapter number 2 here. Right now it's showing mirror 1. We need to come here and add mirror 2. But right now, since the machine is running, it's not seeing mirror 2. We need to wait until it's done. But when it's done, mirror 2 will show up here. So keep that in mind. Then you can save here. All right. Then we can now, after this, that's all you need to set up on your VMware esxi. Then you need to access your switch. In this case, I'm using a D-Link DES switch. So you need to sign into your switch. And for me, I went to the internet and I looked up how to monitor traffic with port mirroring, and I put the switch version here. And the instructions are very simple. They tell me exactly what I'm doing. So depending on what switch you are using, you need to go and figure it out. And what we're after is this diagram here. In this case, I'm going to monitor traffic that is leaving to the firewall and back. You can choose to just monitor traffic that is coming from the switch to your esxi. It works either way. But in this case, I also want to capture all the traffic for my mobile clients. So I'm going to mirror traffic that is going to my WAN, going up here. And also I want to send it to my security onion IDS. So that's what we're doing here. And here you need to know the port number. For me, the port that is going to the firewall is port number 1. And the port that I'm mirroring is port number 48. I just chose the mirror port by default. But port number 1 is what is physically connected to my firewall. I have a physical firewall. So I go to my switch, you sign in, depending on your switch, you need to figure out how to sign in here. I change the IP address under the system settings. Let's just sign in here one more time. So this is what my switch sign-in page looks like. All right, so I went to the system here, and under system settings, I gave it a static IP address. So depending on your switch, you need to look it up how to do what I'm doing here. Then once I gave it a static IP address, I went to my instructions here that I looked up. They say go to configuration and port mirroring. So I went back and I went to, in this case, configuration, port mirroring. And what we're doing here is I'm choosing target port number 48. And that's the port where all the data is going to be going to. And then I can choose my source port. In this case, I chose port number 1. And I chose both incoming and outgoing. That's what you're looking at here. And then it's going to be mirroring that traffic to port number 48. So every packet that flows through this port is going to be mirrored here. So I'll get a copy of in and out of outgoing traffic. And that's what I did here. Then I applied the change. After that, let's go and check to make sure that it's working. If you go to statistics, what we should see is that if you add this 31,000 plus 49,080 or so, so that's really the traffic here. So this is port 48, and this port now is what is connected to my VMware esxi network. In this case, for us, it will be connected to this mirror here. So that's the same port number 48 from this switch here. This port number 48 here. As you can see, this is the data that is going through it. It's connected to right here in VMware esxi on port number 4. So this is connected to a security onion machine right here. That's how I have the data flowing. So that's how you set it up there. When your security onion is done installing, all you need to do is restart and access it on the IP address. So once your security onion is done installing from the terminal, restart it, then you can go to the browser, go to https 192.168.38.10 or whatever IP address you gave it. And if you do that, it will take you to this login page. And in this case, I used this email address during the setup and the password that I created. And you can sign in. And when you first sign in, this is what you see. You need to go to the alerts tab, and you'll be able to see that you get some alerts in here. Then you can go to the hunt tab to see some events that you can hunt. There's PCAP that you can download. You can see a bunch of sensors that you might have. Open Kibana to check out some data to see if it's flowing or not. And this is the verification process. And as you can see in Kibana, in the home tab, if you give it a minute here, we have a bunch of data, including right here when we enabled our data. So this is a fully functional security onion lab, and you can see a whole lot of things here, including the performance in Grafana. This is the most important part for me, be able to see how it's doing. Mine is doing really well. My monitor traffic and went down. So this is all the traffic that we have for monitoring in our security onion lab right now. So as you can see, this is just working, and mine has been up for a while now. So I hope you have fun setting this one up. If you have any errors or issues, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, if you run into any errors, try to reinstall it again. It might give you a hard time, and mine definitely did. So let others know in the comments. Otherwise, have fun. I'll see you in the next video where we'll be hunting more threats in this environment.